Good morning to all. Myself Selvakumar, Assistant Professor in ECE, Government College of Engineering, Sengipatti, Tanjavur. So, in the subject telecommunication network management, I'm going to discuss about the management information base and the structure of the management of the Unit 3, the subject TNM. The topics following the subject are the structure of management information, and another one is the management information base. The structure of management information. The structure of management information used in both the UAC management and based on the TNM as well as in the internet management. Even though there are differences in modeling principles, but the fundamental goal remains the same in both the cases of the OSI and the telecommunication management network as well as the internet network management. The sections are attributes, attribute groups, and action. Discuss two kinds of operations. One is the attribute oriented, and another one is the object oriented. Whether it is attribute oriented, the database operations such as read and modify the values of an attribute are applicable. If it is an object oriented, an action requests are addressed to the managed object as a whole. So, so while in the structure of management information, the actions operation has been performed on the attributes and attribute groups, or in the two cases, one is the attribute oriented and another one is the object oriented. An attribute oriented database operation such as read and modify the values of an attributes are applicable. So whereas an action request are addressed to the managed object as a whole on the object oriented operations. These operations are sometimes referred to as the structure of management information SMI. Similarly, the notification are called the SMI notifications. So that operations are attribute oriented and the object oriented. So forms as the literature called as the structure of management information, and the notification is semi notifications. The operations and notification specified as a part of the information model, which define the visible at the boundary of the manager. Know what is going to be visible at the boundary of the manager. In other words, the internal details about the resource are concealed. The mapping between these operations and notifications suitable mapping between these operation and notification to a suitable communication protocol such as common management information protocol is required to transmit what is available at the manager object when bounded to an external systems. So this tables illustrates the structure of management informations when compared with the protocol of the CMSE are used for the external communications. This tables gives CMS services transforming from service to the protocol transmit across an external system or interface may be contained from the CMIP. So in SMA operations or notification, we are simply giving that the object oriented as get, replace with the default add member, remove member, create, delete, action, notification. Where it is in the CMS, common management information service element, that is for the external communication, of the remote systems. Then we change that object as mget, mset, mcreate, mdelete, maction, and the mreports. So there are several structure of management information standards are there that was recommended by the International Telecommunication Union (IEC) and the OSI. That recommendation standards having the some of the titles. So the standard starts from the X 7.720 to 725. These are the recommended standard by the ISO, IEC. That title of this X.720 ISO IEC 101651 is called the management information model. So the description of this title is the which defines the object-oriented principles, and the features used to specify the management information model. So another explain sound to one. So its title defined as the definition of management information, which specifies the information models, which specifies the information containing the management for generic and some specific functions, and for the some specific functions. And the standard explains sound to two guidelines for the definition of the managed objects, which defines the notation for expressing the management information that uses a semi-formal approach. And another one is the explain sound to three, which is the generic management information. So specifies a generic level of management information communicating such as connection mode, protocol, machine, which the description of this generic management information is pertaining to communication entities such as connection mode, protocol, machines. So another one is the X.724. So requirements title of this standard is the requirements and guidelines for ICS Proforma associated with the management information. So which defines a tabular notation for expressing conformance of the implementation to the management information contained in the models. So last one standard is the X.722. That is a general relationship model. So which described as the extension of the object-oriented principles to include the model of the relationship. So these are the several standards of the structure of the management information, structure of the semi structure of the management information, which is discussed by the ITU and also the ISO and the IAC. So moreover, there are some more several standards are there. So for reference only, we are adapted 7 standards. So next topic is the management information base. This management information base is used to store the information. Is used to store the information of the managed objects in the managed system. That will be that managed system will be on the agent role. Then the agent gets all the informations about the objects that are in the managed system. That will be stored in the management information base for the future process and the future references. So the distinction between managed object class and the managed object instance was discussed earlier. The class definition is a part of the information model or the schema. The class definition is a one of the part of the information model, one of the part of the information model. So these managed objects of the class system in such as an network element form a repository. Repository means storing. Repository means storing, saving the information. Referred to as the management information base. The actual database you store the MIB. The MIB is the actual database which varies across different implementation and is not relevant for the defining the schema. So which is used for storing the database but is not relevant for defining the schema. For the figure shows the MIB concept. So the figure shows here repository of the management information visible across an interface, instantiated managed objects according to the information models for the resources managed. Information in the MIB pertain to properties of the various managed resources that can be made visible across an external interfaces. When the MIB concept realized is an implementation of using various databases, additional information may be included to assist in the internal working of the managed system. These are not visible across the interface. So this management information base is not visible across the interface. While it is a assist for the storing the properties of the various managed resources, and it forms that network elements of the managed system. The network elements of the managed systems is repository referred to as the management information base. The term MIB has been used in another context, the approach for the managing the data communications. So the management information base are also used in the for the management of the data communication equipments such as bridges, routers. Using this internet managed protocol SNMP are also use the same management information base. Modeling principle defined in this approach do not make distinction between a class representing the type of resource and a specific instance of the class similar to that made earlier in this section. The schema itself referred to as MIB. Because of the much simpler principles of the management information base used to define the schema, how the objects are identified, this term is applicable when referencing the schema as well as the repository is an implementation. So, in other words, the Internet RFC, that is the request for comment model, containing the containing the structure of management information, definition of objects are called, for example, ATM, asynchronous transfer node MIB, and the SONET MIB. So, I hope that this lecture has been completed with the management information base and the structure of management, and the structure of management, how the management are structured by using the object oriented and the attributes oriented to maintain the mm, managed objects, and how the management information base are storing the information. This management base is used for all the network standards, but the goal of the standard will be same, but the approach will be varied in each standard. um, I hope that all of you understand these topics. Thank you.